This is, if you're just joining us right now, so this is gonna be a live stream. We're gonna go for about an hour. Gonna answer all your ZimmWriter questions. If you have trouble uh, getting something to work inside of ZimmWriter, or you need help understanding a particular feature, this is the perfect live stream for you. Answer all your questions. The hour is totally yours. Let me just jump right now into the chat. So he says, why the vault cannot use the SERP? So the AI vault you're talking about in here, the topical authority generator, why does this not use the SERP? I'm assuming you're asking about a keyword difficulty and volume and whatnot. All those tools basically are obviously guesses, but they do pull from what's in the SERP. The reason why the topical authority generator does not is, let's say you wanted to, we generated 900 long tail keywords. ZimmWriter would have to go out to the SERP and perform 900 different scrapes, and that 900 times 10, that'd be 10, close to 10,000 credits. That would blow a lot of your credits for the month. Plus, the goal of the topical authority generator is not simply finding volume, it's to build that topical authority. So there very well might not be blog posts on a particular topic. They might be lacking in a particular area. So the topical authority generator is a better way to flesh out, I guess, the entire spectrum of that particular topic to the best of the AI's ability, and then you can use your brain, or you can just start feeding stuff into the bulk writer, but you can kind of use your own brain to figure out if you're missing areas on a particular topic that you then want to talk about, or maybe you're brainstorming. The topical authority generator is a really great way to brainstorm different topics and different ideas. So that's why it doesn't use the SERP. It's more of a brainstorming method right now for even zero competition stuff that the keyword tools aren't showing any volume for, but volume in fact does exist out there. Let's look at some different questions here. The staff says, just want to thank you. The Scrape SERP feature is freaking epic, and in combination with the new GPT-4 Turbo, it's downright incredible. No problem. If you haven't used GPT Turbo, let's kind of minimize that and show you. If you haven't used the new GPT-4 Turbo, you definitely should. So OpenAI is calling these two models. This is like the upcoming model for 3.5 Turbo, the new updated model. This will be rolled into this version right here on December 11th. But right now they're calling it this. So that's why we have these like weird options in this drop down, because that's just what the model's called right now. On December 11th, it will be called this. GPT-4 Turbo, I'm assuming it will be renamed to GPT-4 Turbo or something. But if you haven't used the GPT-4 1106 preview, which is GPT-4 Turbo, you definitely should. It's a cost savings, and I think it does a much better job of following directions than 3.5 Turbo. One of the downsides to 3.5 Turbo is it doesn't follow directions as well. So sometimes you'll get output that's not as good as it could have been. Let's see what else. Hold on one second. Let me turn down my heater. I'm in Ohio, so it's getting a little cold. I have my heater on, but now I'm burning up. Al Amin, I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. But he asks, tell us some tips to reduce the usage of AI use words like a device, if you're looking for, etc. So that's the first question. Second question is how to reduce AI hallucinations and command AI to write in depth. The The reason why AI uses certain words like delve and dive and like let's buckle up and things like that is because it was trained on data. And that training, when it reads all the data and combines it all, apparently a lot of people say the word delve or dive or buckle up or things like that. And now you're seeing it a lot more with AI, and you're seeing it in a repetitious behavior because that's just how the AI was trained. It's hard to get the AI not to do something that it was trained on, because it's not continuously learning. The AI, it's not learning. That's why it doesn't remember. What you go to ChatGPT, you open up a new chat, it doesn't carry stuff over from the previous chat. So the AI is not continually learning, and it's just going to do what it's been programmed to do. That's why it uses those AI words a lot. So it's hard to tell it not to do something when you're rolling that command, that negative prompt almost. Don't use these words in with all these other prompts. So ZimmWriter uses a lot of different prompts behind the scene, and it's hard to then tack on. Don't also, in addition, also don't use these words. And then the AI, with its limited attention span, can pick and choose what rules it wants to follow. So it's much better to create a custom prompt that would say, and if you haven't used a custom prompt, you really should investigate using it. Here's the directions on how custom prompts work. But the custom prompt would be a perfect place to do this. And I need to make a whole video on this to show you. But what you should be doing when you're testing out your custom prompts is you follow this format right here, because this is exactly what I'm feeding into OpenAI. You can go to the playground. So we're in the playground right now, and this is how I would create a custom prompt that I would then feed into ZimmWriter. So in ZimmWriter, it shows you what I'm feeding in. So this is, let me just paste it in here and show you. So we paste it in here. So this would be like the article title. This would be how to wash a dog. Or if it's on a particular subheading, so the intro would be the title here, how to wash a dog, or the conclusion would be the title. If it's on a particular subheading, it would be scrub their body or something like that. And then the text to modify would be the subsection that it wrote about. So I think I actually have a completed one down here. Let's just paste this in and show you. So this is like an H2, and then here's the text that ZimmWriter wrote, and then here's your custom prompt right here. So you can test out your custom prompts by coming into the playground and then pasting this in and then seeing how it works. So you could say, rewrite the text in the style of Dr. Seuss. Let's just leave it like that, and we'll click submit. And so it takes this text to modify, and it modifies it according to this custom prompt right here. So this would be the custom prompt that you would then feed in to the custom prompt editor in ZimmWriter. But you can test out your custom prompt and then tweak it and whatnot by coming into the playground and then pasting in basically what I'm going to feed OpenAI. And then you can say, oh, I really don't like this. Let's tweak this up a little bit more. Let's not do a bullet list or something like that. So back to the initial question, if you don't like the word delve or dive or something like that, we can modify it. So we can rewrite the text to remove any of the following words. Now, I don't know if it's going to do that, because that's the whole context right there, but let's see if it works. And usually it's going to follow directions better and be more capable with one of the GPT-4 models. So you can choose your custom prompt to run on, like GPT-4 preview, for instance. So let's see if this works, and set the temperature to 0.7. That's what ZimmWriter uses. Let's try it. So it did it. Let's cancel right now just to stop the prompt. So looking for a powerful and versatile lighting solution, need optimal visibility. So look no further than the Milwaukee 2366, the blank, just the model right here, the 2366-20. So I would, long story short, long explanation short, I would use custom prompts to filter out words, and I would test out your custom prompt inside of the playground first, following the directions that are in this exhaustive guide, which you can find up here. And you'll likely get good results if you're trying to remove words. That's how I would go about it. Your second question was how to reduce AI hallucinations and command the AI to write in depth. I don't know if we had a private conversation about this or not. I know you wanted more forcing of the background information inside of the SEO writer to include what you provided in there. So here's your background that you can put in. The background that you put into the SEO writer or that's used in the SERP scraping is a guide to provide the AI with knowledge and options to write about, but it's not going to just take verbatim what's in the background and put 100% of everything in there. It's more of a guide. The AI does a lot better when you don't force it to do something, when you instead give it options to do something. Hey, try to include some of this stuff in the article, and then you'll get much better results. To avoid hallucinations, use background information. Either use, if we're talking about the SEO writer, use a URL to scrape, or use background information, or use SERP scraping, provided that the SERP actually has data on what you're writing about. If you try to use SERP scraping for like how to train a snail to ride a bike, this is an extreme example, but there's no results for that. I'm too afraid to learn to bike. Can someone help me, please? Nothing to do with training a snail to ride a bike. So this would not be something that you would want to SERP scrape, because there's no results out there. So the AI would likely hallucinate. So if you wanted something like crazy, again, how to train a snail to ride a bike, what you would need to do is provide some background information. So you'd come over here. I don't know what kind of subheadings the AI would come up with for this. Let's see. The AI is probably struggling right now because I don't know what to do. But that's how I would reduce hallucinations. You go in the SEO writer, and if there's nothing valid in the SERP, then you come down here and you provide some background information if this is like a niche subject or something like that. I don't know why it's sometimes OpenAI hangs and we just wait for a response and it can take 3 minutes or something. So that's no fun. OpenAI has been having more problems recently. Let's go to yoga lifestyle. He writes, can we use prompts in the global background like NLP and EEAT? So the global background is not meant for commands. The global background is for information that the AI doesn't know about. So you can put in keywords and things like that that you want the AI to try to use, but it's going to like the global background, it will be fed into every single prompt. So you wouldn't want you get repetition. I think if you put a lot of stuff in the global background, that's why people that use the SERP or the penny arcade see repetition because that all that data from that article has been summarized into the global background and it's fed into every single H2 and H3, and therefore you get that that repetition. It finally finished. Selecting the perfect snail, creating the ideal. So the AI actually did a good job of coming up with some points about how to train a snail to ride a bike. But if you don't want hallucinations, because the SERP has nothing on this, you would need to probably put some background information in there or just take a gamble and see what the AI came up with. But yeah, global background, you don't want prompts. You don't put prompts in the background. That's not what it's for. If you want prompts, you put the prompts in your custom prompt. You can do that in the SEO writer too. Let's see down here. Custom prompt. Yeah, you can put that in there. Thomas says, I'd love to hear about using local SEO, how best to use it to structure the output on our websites, or maybe some useful tips on using Amazon links, how to set up for best output for an affiliate. So I like this site. I go there all the time. When I'm using it as an example, I don't like be like, oh hey, let me check this site out in the evening. I like the layout of this site. If you're local, structure your site like this. This is a great structure for local. You have the services up here for the cleaning company. You have the different services, and each one is tied to the main location. The main location is Aurora, Colorado. So you click on tile and grout cleaning. It takes you to tile and grout in Aurora, Colorado. You have, and I structured the local buffet around this concept. So you'll put your business name, business type, some highlights. So here's some highlights of the business, and then locations that it serves. So this would be like Aurora, Colorado, Denver, Colorado, and then different services and like a USP for each of the services. So you fill this out, you'll get all these different buffet choices, and you can then pull from those files from each of that location slash service. I want a little blurb about tile and grout cleaning in Aurora, Colorado. So you pull that blurb from the file in the output from the buffet. And then so again, this is like everything here is for Aurora, Colorado. Now, if you actually want to check out different locations, you click on like Castle Rock, for instance, and you'll see like the main service they offer is carpet cleaning. From an SEO perspective, most of the traffic, carpet cleaning. So when you click on the location, you're going right to the carpet cleaning for each one of these. But then as you scroll down, you'll see these options down here for like window cleaning. When you click it, we're still in Greenwood Village. So you have this location page and a service page for each location slash service. So if you have 5 locations you serve and 5 services you offer, that's 25 pages. Or if you have 25 locations and 25 services, that's 625 pages. You think, oh man, that's a lot of work to do, especially when this is a buffet and we're picking and choosing stuff to bring in. Yeah, but the return on local SEO is just so much bigger for a company than just national SEO. It takes a little bit longer, but it pays dividends. In terms of a layout for Amazon links, I have a video on that, on setting that up. Be making more videos soon because we will be having automatic roundup. So you can put in your title and you'll get an automatic product roundup from Amazon for that. So that will come soon. Al Amin asks, any extra tips to cover all the background? You have a lot of questions going on here. You ask, can we have keyword clusters in the near future so that we can give keywords from the tool and it will cluster it for us? Yeah, that'd be cool. Mention it to Bharat. He maintains the feature edition list. That'd be cool to add. Playman asks, hello to the best group for AI generation. Thank you very much. Aaron asks, how do you recommend giving ZimmWriter more context for very specific or technical niches? I've tried the new scraping feature, but it is clear that it doesn't truly understand the subject matter. So I said this before, but I guess it bears repeating. And I don't know what niche you're in, but when you go to Google and you put in a search query, and you can read about how, got it, thanks, how the SERP scraping works in ZimmWriter in this directions link. You guys got to read these directions links. They're very, spend a lot of time on them. Even with the cutesy photo, there's a lot of meat in here that explains how it works. So you'll high level, what happens is you type a blog post into ZimmWriter and you enable SERP scraping. You got to get ScrapeOwl for that. Do your options, and then this is what happens with ZimmWriter. ZimmWriter will contact ScrapeOwl to perform the Google search. It will retrieve from ScrapeOwl a list of web pages ranking for the term, and then store all that data in the database. And then it will determine using AI which of the results relate to the query. Because again, if you're searching something very niche, like how to train a snail to ride a bike, there's not going to be any results. And so the SERP scrape, because there'll be no results, it will fail. And ZimmWriter will say, hey, this has failed. There's no results. And it will go on to the next article if you're like doing the bulk, for instance. Once it finds some relevant articles, it will scrape up to 5 and then use those subheadings from the 5 to create the outline behind the scenes, or you can do it manually with the SEO writer, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, it will use that stuff to write the article. If you're running into a situation where you have a technical niche and the scraping features not providing good results, I would first start by going to Google. Go to Google and you put in your question, like how to disassemble a cyber truck. That just came out, right? There is a Cybertruck tear down. There's actually a video on that. There's a couple. I thought this would be there wouldn't be a lot of results in here. So this is cool. You might get some good results with this. So you might get some good things, but I would suggest going to Google, first of all, putting in your query and seeing what you get. If you don't get good results, then the AI is not going to have good things to work with. It might only have one result. So when you use a scrape feature, it's only going to be as good as the results on Google. If you're not getting good results on Google, then you need to go back and do it manually. You need to go into the SEO writer and you'll put in your title up here. You'll get your subheadings, and you can use the SERP for this. And there's this SS button right here. So if you did use the SERP and there's some data from the SERP, you can press this SS button and it will pull the data and show you what it thinks is relevant for the subheading. And you might not think that's valid. And you might say, I want to go in here and edit the results and provide better background information. Yeah, you can do that. And your results will improve based on that. The other thing you can do if you think that the writing is a little bit shallow is you can come over here and select medium length. When you select medium length, it forces the AI to write a little bit more. It gets those AI neurons connecting a little bit more, and hopefully you'll get a little bit more meat out of it. So that's what I suggest. Top GFX asks, how to write listicle article like 50 things to do in XYZ. H2 is limited. Gotcha. Perfect question. Let's erase this. So there's a limit to the number of H2s you can have. You can have up to 25 in here. So how would you do 50 things? And the reason we have 25 is once you start saying, give me 50 things or give me 100 things, not a lot of people know this, but it creates repetition with the AI. The AI, once it gets past a certain number, it will start repeating things, not identically, but it will follow a pattern, and it just ends up not being good quality. I don't know how better to explain that. So it's better, if you want a long list like that, is to group things up. So if you were to say 50 things to do in Japan, you could say 15 things to do in Japan on a budget. Then you could say with a family. So you could do something like that. And then and then what you do is you have these H3s, right? So these would be you'd have H3s in here. You say, give me 15 H3s. And then you can have the AI, you press this little S button and the AI will come up with those 15 different things. Let's see if we can do it right now, and it won't take a long time. The other thing you can do is you can just say 25 things and then go down below and say 25 more things and then combine them manually on publishing. That's another thing to do. So 15 things to do in Japan on a budget: cheap eats, low cost day trips, cheap street food. So stuff like that. That's what I would probably do if you want a listicle of more than 50. If I'm not mistaken, in the custom prompt, you cannot give instructions for the main text. So I can't say add to all explanations, always practical examples to the reader. I if I'm understanding correctly, I don't think you're right on that. So you go to custom prompt and you can say, I have one in here, like it's just a silly one I use. Write in the style, rewrite the content like Dr. Seuss. You can apply that everywhere. You can say, I want Dr. Seuss to apply everywhere in the intro, in the conclusion, in every single subheading. If you don't want it in the intro and conclusion, you say, I just want it for the subheadings. So we'll apply Seuss right here. But I also want it for the transitions. That'd be like an H2, and then the following subheading would be an H3. So that H2 would be a transition. You can read more about the classifications in this directions link up here. But yeah, you can apply a custom prompt anywhere and it will apply it. You can apply different ones. You can say, I want a Facebook post for this one. I want prompt names for this one, just silly stuff. But yeah, you can do that. Deng asks, what if you are an online service and you cater nationwide? What would be the location? Why did I close ZimmWriter? If you are an online service and you cater nationwide, then you don't need to target local. You can target local if you want to. You get more bang for your buck when you actually have a physical business that you can then tie to Google My Business and whatnot. But if you're national and you don't have physical locations, then just write national, right? Just write a normal article. Like SEO services is great, right? Just write articles about SEO services. If you don't want to target any individual geographic location, just write SEO type articles with low competition. Kanani, thanks for the compliment. Nathan says, I found a competitor article that I would like to rewrite and make it my own and make it better. That's what the Penny Arcade is for. You can put in up to 1,000 different URLs, whether it's your URLs or competitor URLs. And if you're using ScrapeOut, you can even put in YouTube URLs and it will scrape the transcript. But then it will take each of those URLs. This would be like HTTPS. There's like your one article, like article one, and you can put in a whole different website if you want to, your next article in here. And then you configure all your options. You can say, I want 15 subheadings. I don't want it to be dynamic, so I'll uncheck this or something. You can say, I want an automatic voice. Set all your different options. And then you can even say, I want a YouTube video. So you can even put in a YouTube URL. It will scrape the transcript, write an article for that, and then even put in a YouTube video for the article. It's just crazy. But that's what this is for. You can rewrite competitors' articles. Now, will it be quote unquote better? It just depends. If the article is by the competitors, like some 5,000 word, super researched article with lots of graphs and diagrams and things like that, probably not. But if it's more of a general article with some specific facts in there, or you can put Amazon stuff in here too. You can even have it write a one-off review about a product from Amazon if you want to. Yeah, we'll do a pretty good job. B. Asar asks, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your names. Which text format is preferable for background information, raw text or a list? It doesn't matter. You can put an either or for the background. Jill asks, can you put in a few URLs and have ZimmWriter write an article based on those URLs? Not necessarily just one not necessarily the top results, just one you pick. So Jill, I know you're familiar with the Penny Arcade, so I think you're probably asking, can we put in 3 URLs and have the AI write an article based on that, as opposed to just one article for one URL in the Penny Arcade? What you can do is you can go to the SEO writer and you can put in up to 3 URLs into the global background, and then you can say, start SEO writer with scraping, and it will scrape all 3, but then when it reaches a summary of 1,000 or 1,200 words, it will stop scraping. So that's a way you could do it. The other way is you could go into the Penny Arcade and put in your 3 URLs in here. You can click this only summarize button. You got to put a URL in there, right? Click the only summarize button and you give this like a job name and it will spit out 3 summaries. And then you can take those summaries and you can feed those into the global background, or you can generate your subheadings and start like working through the subheadings with your subheading background. So that's how you do it right now. I'm not saying that a feature won't come in the future that will allow you to do exactly what you want more automatically, but it's not here yet. Steph asks, in your example where you grouped the 15 things you do in Japan on a budget and you have 15 H3s, is there a way to get it to create a table? Or yes, Awesome question. Yes, awesome question. So let's do this again. 5 things to do in Japan. Make this nice and simple. And we'll create our headings using AI. There we go. So the question is, if I'm understanding correctly, can we force a list or a table on a particular subheading? Because there's an option down here to enable lists, enable tables, but it's a chance. Because it would be stupid if we said enable lists and then every subheading, H2s and H3s and H4s, you got a list, or every you enable tables in every single one. So there needs to be some randomness in there to make it look like an actual article. But if you want to force a list on something, you can do that with this command right here, list. So curly brackets, list, and then end curly brackets. You can also do the same thing with table. Now you can read about this stuff. It's hard to, let's see. I don't think it's in this main guide here. Yes, secret subheading variables. So definitely, and I know it's a read, but definitely be checking out the directions. So secret subheading variables, you can use you can't use the custom outline feature in the SEO writer because that literally would defeat the purpose, because the custom outline feature is for situations where you don't have the exact outline but you're building a template. In the SEO writer, you're actually writing your outline, the actual H2s, the H3s and stuff like that. But you can add on to the H2 or the H3 or the H4 these keywords: list, table, and there's also, and then YouTube, to force a YouTube video on a particular subheading. Because right now, if you come down here, let's see, if you come down here and click YouTube videos, it's going to insert a YouTube video on the first H2, the third H2, and the fifth H2. So if you click this and you say, I want 3, that's what's going to happen. But there's situations where you don't want a YouTube video on the first H2. So you might want some YouTube videos elsewhere in the article. So that's what you can do. You can come down here and say, oh, I want a YouTube video for this one. Or I want ZimmWriter to try to find a YouTube video for that one. You can also do custom voices. And this might not make a lot of sense as why this would be in here, because why would you want, like, why not just come over here and say, I want the whole article in second person, for instance. The reason being is I found that if you're doing a product roundup and your first H2, if your title is like best barbecue grills, and then your H2, your first one would be like best barbecue grills, and then these would be, let's just make this better, 2 factors to consider when buying a barbecue grill. And we come in here and we say we want 5 different products. So this would be like product 1, product 2, etc. You're typically going to write your article with the voice of second person or maybe first person. But if you choose first person and you write a product roundup, and this is also in first person, what the AI sometimes does is it starts acting like it is the manufacturer. And so it's going to say, you're going to love our new product, blah, blah, blah. And that's not what you want. So sometimes you'd want these things to be in a different voice. So you can come over here and say, you know what, I want, what is first person singular? I always forget these. So second person. So you can come in here, you can say, for these different products, I want these to be in second person. Get rid of those commas. So that's another variable that you can put in. Definitely check this stuff out. Check those guides out. They're very valuable guides. Thomas asks, do you have any favorite settings or tips for using ZimmWriter that could improve EEAT of the output? The only trick I know of, but it's not a proven trick, is if you think about Google, how do they determine EEAT? One of the factors is going to be looking at external sources if you're an authority on a topic. They have in the past definitely looked at if you have a book published on Amazon. Even if it's not about bestseller, if you're on Amazon, you're published, even if no one's bought it, that can prove that you have authority on that particular topic. If you have a Wikipedia page, that can prove authority and whatnot. They might recompute that stuff, that authority computation, at every core update. I'm not totally sure. But I would assume that another factor is maybe the type of voice that you use for your article. So if it's written, if it's a product review and it's written in the voice with I and me and my, and I experienced this, I thought of this particular thing when I was reviewing this, or maybe even we liked this, we researched this, that might be a way to improve EAT, but I would assume that it's a much lower factor than an external source proving your authority on it. Kazi asks, I am new to ZimmWriter. How do I become a pro? Love it. That is a great question. Click on this secret training, and I'm going to be changing my onboarding videos soon. But down here are the different guides. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to use AI anywhere on your Windows computer or in your browser, in Chrome, in Gmail, learn how to use the keyboard triggers. If you want to go slow and methodical with your articles, learn to use the SEO writer. There's an exhaustive guide on that. There's some different videos on that. You want to do local content, read the exhaustive guide for the local buffet. You want to do a lot of content quickly, learn how to use the bulk writer. The exhaustive guide is in there. You want to rewrite URLs, competitors' content, Amazon URLs, stuff like that. Learn how to use the Penny Arcade. And then there's some other really cool things. If you do end up using Scrape Owl, I'm going to update the guide in here, but there's stuff to learn in here about scraping domains that your IP address can't scrape, and you'll need Scrape Owl for. I'll have a guide for that. Scraping Surgeon is a huge, it's so much power with this thing. A lot of people don't spend the time to dive in and read the guide on it, but this will allow you to surgically identify on particular websites the content that you want scraped. So you end up with a better quality scrape. So there's a lot of stuff that you can dive in. Most of it all explained on this page here, but you can also check out my YouTube channel. Isaac says, "Oh, nice. I didn't know it would scrape the YouTube transcripts. That's freaking awesome." Yeah, it will. So you do need Scrape Owl for scraping scraping YouTube transcripts, getting YouTube videos to insert into an article, and then also the SERP scraping. And then finally, you'll need Scrape Owl if you run into domains that your IP address will not scrape. And then I don't want to get sidetracked on this. There's some really cool stuff that goes on in this, but this allows you to configure different options to make a domain scrapable. But again, it requires Scrape Owl. I did tell you sooner. You just didn't read the directions. A lot of cool features to unpack inside of ZimmWriter. Thomas says, in what ways can ZimmWriter assist in creating persuasive and compelling calls to action to drive desired user actions on a website? There was a user a couple days ago that was asking for help on a prompt. And this was really quiet. I really like this. I don't have the example here, unfortunately. But let's say you're in the bulk writer, and I don't know what your niche is. Let's say you're writing about photography or something like that. You can actually come and make a custom. And now maybe this is not what you want, but this is just an example. You want a call to action. You can come over here and you can say, and you want to follow the custom prompt guide. Follow what I explained at the beginning of the video where you're testing this stuff out in the playground on OpenAI. Don't test this out in ChatGPT because ChatGPT is biased based on the prior conversation. Test this stuff out in the playground. And you can say, rewrite I wish I had the example, the content to add, to encourage the reader to contact XYZ if they need further assistance. So there's our custom prompt. And we'd say custom prompt, call to action, XYZ photo. And we'd save the new prompt. And then what you can do is you can go to the conclusion and say, I want this to be applied, this custom prompt to be applied for every call to action. Now, I don't know, you might be able to put a URL in there. I haven't tried that, but that's a way at least to create this textual call to action now when you apply this prompt to the conclusion, right? And I don't know where else you would want to apply it. You can create a custom outline and read the directions on this. This is not like the SEO writer custom outline. This is something completely different. If you're new to ZimmWriter, this is not the SEO writer outline. This is something different. This is for a repeatable thing. But let's say you had a recipe custom outline. You could put your custom prompt in here. And I don't really remember what it was, custom prompt XYZ photo or whatever it was. You can put your custom prompt in there, and that will apply the custom prompt to this, even though this is not a conclusion. So a lot of power that you can do when you start unpacking things. Yeah, you're welcome, the lady writes. Rita asks, support for all languages. The best I can offer right now is in the bulk writer, there's a box down here to put in the language that you want. The SEO writer, there's also a box down here, the language that you want. The Penny Arcade, there's a non-English box down there. The advanced triggers, there's also a non-English box. That's the best I can do because my prompts are in English. And when you start feeding in non-English with English, you get mixed language output, and it's just not it's not good. The reason why it works in ChatGPT is because everything that you write is being fed in your language. So that's the best I can do until I can translate all my prompts. But my prompts are dynamically changing all the time. It was like a catch 22. I don't really know what to do at the moment. Funny Pics in Motion asks, are you adding Dolly 3 to ZimmWriter? I would love to. I would absolutely love to. The problem right now is when you click on settings and limits and you scroll down, so I'm on platform.openai.com. Whoa, wow, that's new. Yesterday I did, or yeah, yesterday I did not have Dolly 3 API access. Now I do. Do me a favor. After this video, go to platform.openai.com and do something for me. You want to click on settings and then limits, and then find your usage tier up here. You got to be on usage tier 2 to unlock the speed boosts. Free tier is like really slow, but we found that usage tier 1 is still slow. You want to get on usage tier 2. If you're not on usage tier 2, all you do is you go and you add $50 to your OpenAI account. But I want you, if you can, after this video, or private message me or whatever it is, tell me what usage tier you're on, and then scroll down and tell me if you have Dolly 3 access. Because if a lot of people have it and they're on usage tier 2, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to add this really fast. I was just waiting on it. It wasn't available in the API. So thank you for making me check Funny Pics in Motion. Man, that's awesome. I'm still waiting for Midjourney though. Midjourney is the cream of the crop. But yes, now we can do images. Jonathan, yes, I get it. I get it. If I could snap my fingers and get the Mac version done, totally understand. But I'm moving at my own pace right now. It's a top priority for me. But don't let the platform hold you back. I'm actually recording this on Mac right now, so you can use this on Mac. Alamin, I'm gonna answer your number 7 question. I know you've asked a lot. When I'm giving competitors outlines to ZimmWriter and commanding to produce an outline, it's rewriting those and giving some outline on its own, but I want ZimmWriter to give me you want to use all of the subheadings from the competitors. When you're giving the competitors outline to I don't know how you're giving the competitors outline to ZimmWriter. I don't know where you're doing that. ZimmWriter doesn't it doesn't like just rewrite the if the competitor has 15 subheadings, it's not going to just give you 15 subheadings unless it's a listicle and then just spin the content. That's not what ZimmWriter's for. So I don't really have a feature to just spin the content. Steph says custom voice is epic. Write the intro and conclusion in the first person. So yeah, you can totally change it up. Now it only works in the SEO writer, although you can also use it, I believe, with custom outlines. Irfan asks, do you have any plan in the future to add a module in ZimmWriter to write fiction, maybe short stories or novels? I don't know what the future is going to hold. If I have more time, that might be a cool thing to tackle. I've tackled writing a novel in the past, and it's definitely a build from a programming standpoint. It's because there's a lot of moving parts to it. It's a complicated endeavor to do it right. Fam Quo asks, in the future, do you plan to add the features of adding background SERP to H2, H3 in the bulk writer? There's a little bit of things to unpack in there. Right now, you put your titles in here, 15 things to do in Japan. So we're in the bulk writer. You can put your 500 different titles in here if you want to. You can come over here, you can click SERP scraping, you can enable it. And then for each one of these queries, the ZimmWriter will go out to contact the Scrape Owl and then Google and perform those SERP searches on those particular queries. And then if this is like super niche and there's just nothing out there, then it will skip over that article because it failed the SERP scrape and go on to the next one. But yeah, that will get you your background information. Now there's no H4. Well, I guess you could use H4s. That will do background for your H3s. That will do background for your H2s, for your intro, for your conclusion, all that good stuff. If you don't want to SERP scrape, what you can do is click on, and you want like the flavor of the SEO writer, but in bulk, click on this SEO CSV and then click on the Google Sheet. It's imperative that you read the directions up here. If you don't read these directions, it won't work. And some people get confused. CSV, that's just a file type. There's a CSV for this bulk SEO CSV, and the topical authority generator also generates a CSV file. They're not importable. You can't like use one with the other. They're different CSV files. Read the directions. But what this will allow you to do is you can put in, this is a Google Sheet that I've shared. Somebody's looking at it right now and they're not watching this video. That's pretty bad, right? You can put your article title in, And then you can, and that's required. You can put an outline focus if you want to, and look at the formatting. These are examples of the formatting. So this looks a little bit different than what you're going to get in the bulk, the topical authority generator. You can still use it in there. You got to modify it to remove the curly brackets and things like that. You can have an outline focus. You can have some background URLs, so up to 3, or you can have some background content. This is your global background. You can have an outline. So again, I've just given you examples of these. There's no outline for these over here, but for this topic, we have an outline, and we have these are H3s right now. I don't think I have any H4s in here, but you can do H4s in here. Let's see, anything, nothing in there. You can have a WordPress category if you wanted to create a WordPress category on completion. So this gives you the ability, and you can, let's see. Yeah, so the outline over here. So we have this is our H2, this is an H3. You can put in a single URL for a for background for that particular subheading. So this is a way to automate the product roundups that you might want to do with Amazon. This is a product, here's the URL, and then here's a code for it, a special variable to trigger the product layout. So if you want those pros, those cons, and then 2 paragraphs, this is the equivalent of checking that trigger product layout. So this is an example outline of a product roundup. And don't create this stuff like in the CSV file or in this Google Sheet. You create it like somewhere else and you just paste it in. But yeah, definitely read the directions so you can do what you're asking with that bulk SEO CSV. Nathan asked, do you have any plans to add custom prompt templates in the future that could be copied and pasted? I'm not sure if I totally understand what you're asking of the rationale. You can come to the custom prompt and you can put stuff in here. Like you can say, I have this, I guess there's nothing there. Oh, I'm not loading it. This is just so you can load it. Read the directions. This is just so this is like your editing area on this side over here. And this is actually for applying it. Bolding. Use contractions in an active voice. Make key terms stand out by bolding, etc., etc. You can share this custom prompt with a friend if you want to. I think it might be a little bit harder to share everything in your database. I believe you can go to your database directory and somewhere in here, I think, are your custom prompts that are saved. I forget which one it is, but you could probably share this with somebody else and they could have all your custom prompts too. I don't really remember where it is though. Zell asks, can ZimmWriter automatically add images from a URL when posting an article to WordPress blog, saving me from manual image? Yes, it can actually. So but it only works in the SEO writer. So we just talked a little bit ago about DALL-E 3 and the potential for that. I'm going to be working on that provided everybody else like on tier 2 has access. I don't want to do it if it's just like tier 4. Everybody needs to get their image stuff up to speed. It's really upsetting me that these companies are taking forever to add it. Let's say you have a product roundup and you want to bring in the image. All right. If you put in I have a lot to say about this, but I don't want to go too deep. You can use Scraping Surgeon with Amazon, for instance, and you put the URL for the Amazon article in here, and it will pull the image, and you'll see like an image appear in here, and that image will be then used in the article as it writes. Let's say you're not doing Amazon. If you've loaded the domain up in Scraping Surgeon, let's pick a domain here like AppSumo, and you have the CSS class or ID for the image, it will pull the image from AppSumo or whatever this domain is. Now, we're not talking about copyright issues right now. That's a different subject, but it will pull that image if you're using Scraping Surgeon. Let's say you're not using Scraping Surgeon. Let's say you go to Unsplash or something and you want to pull an image. You can just put a URL for an image in here. Maybe you go to Unsplash or Pixabay or something like that. You put your own URL in here and it will go to that URL, download the image, resize it accordingly, rename it, give it some alt text, and then upload it to WordPress as it writes the article. So yes, that is definitely possible. Is there a simple way to clear the cache for magic commands? So there's 2 ways to clear the cache. Close ZimmWriter first if you're going to do it this first way. I'll probably add like a clear cache button or something in the options menu. But for right now, if you want to clear the cache, close ZimmWriter first and then delete this particular file. I'm in the database directory. So I'm in ZimmWriter, database, ZW scraping.sqlite. You close ZimmWriter first. I'm hammering that point in. Delete this file. Your cache for everything in ZimmWriter is now cleared. If you want to overwrite the cache on a URL by URL basis, in the advanced or in with magic commands, what you do is this. You go to advanced triggers and click this box here, use settings when menu is closed. And then what you can do is overwrite URL cache for magic commands. That way, if you have something that's cached, so if you like summarize equals CNN. So if you summarize this page, it will cache it. But if this is already cached, then it will refresh the cache. It will overwrite the existing cache if it is cached, and then scrape it again, and then store that new scrape in the cache. And it will not use the cache for a magic command if this box is enabled. And then obviously you can close this entire window if this box is enabled down here, and the settings will still apply. When you close ZimmWriter, all this stuff gets refreshed though. Thomas asks, you're getting your money's worth, Thomas. Good job. It would be best to generate output in English and later use DeepL. I've used the pro version for a few months for my Polish websites, and it does a great job with, yes, DeepL's a good choice if you're using non-English. You got to be careful though, because I think some of the meanings will change and stuff like that. The lady writes, what steps would you suggest for leveraging this for creating a guide? A guide can mean all kinds of different things for different people, or an ebook. A lot of ebooks are just repurposed blog posts. I guess it depends on the situation. You could go to the SEO writer very easily, and you could come up with your best barbecue grill or 15 things to do in Japan. And then you could start writing those things, and you'll get your article when it's done. And then you'll pull some images. I don't know what kind of guide, like if you're talking about a PDF guide, there's different tools for that. So you'd get the images from whatever image source you're using, Pixabay, or maybe a paid source, Deposit Photos or something. And you'd put them into the PDF as you're creating it. They'd usually have a template. And then you could take various sections that ZimmWriter generated, visit Tokyo. And you put the little Tokyo paragraph into the PDF and make it look nice and fancy and stuff like that. And you've suddenly created like a lead magnet or something pretty cool that you can then repurpose. There was a guy in the group, I'm not going to mention his name, but he was actually creating 6 to 15 page PDFs that a company, I won't mention the name, a photography company, was using as, I guess, lead magnets or something, and they were paying him $6,000 per PDF. That's insane. $6,000 per PDF. Your mind is just blown with the different opportunities that exist out there with a little bit of work. Jim says DALL-E 3 APIs. And then Jim, what tier are you? Anti-God says currently tier 1 and have 5 DALL-E 3 images per minute, which is probably more than enough. So that's great that tier 1 is like that. I don't think ZimmWriter would use more than, unless you're using multiple ZimmWriter licenses, different PCs, but with the same API account. The way OpenAI works, it's all, you can generate 10 API keys. They're all restricted based on your limits, based on your account. It's an account by account limit and not an API key by API key limit. Tier nothing, one image per minute with DALL-E 3. Oh, you're on the free tier. So Jonathan's on the free tier. Barbara asked, will you be adding text to speech to ZimmWriter? Probably not. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but that would not be a priority. Isaac says, all this info is blowing my mind. Love it. Anna Marie asks, I'm tier 1 in OpenAI. Will being tier 1 have any effect on results in ZimmWriter? The only effect that we have found in ZimmWriter a couple weeks ago, and this is not stated in any of the documentation by OpenAI. So this is like a hidden limit that they just either have not disclosed yet or are not disclosing. Before, only the people that were using free credits on OpenAI were speed limited, and they still are. But then they implemented these usage tiers based on either how long you've had your OpenAI account and then also how much credit you've seeded your OpenAI account with. And people that were on tier 1 were finding that it was taking 20 seconds for OpenAI to respond to their request. So ZimmWriter would make a call to OpenAI. OpenAI would delay responding to that request by 20 seconds. Now, if you think about a typical article in ZimmWriter being 50 of those requests to OpenAI, what's 50 times 20 seconds? That really adds up quickly. A typical response from OpenAI, assuming OpenAI doesn't like hang or get locked up temporarily, is about 5 seconds or less, maybe even 2 seconds. So being on tier 2 can dramatically boost up your speed in ZimmWriter. All you got to do to be on tier 2, they say you have to have your account for 7 days and then add $50 to your usage limit. but I have found that it doesn't matter how long you've had your account, as long as you add that $50 to your usage limit, you'll be moved up to tier 2. Alex asks, I have some SEO questions. I wanted to know from your opinion if editing a post that is ranked third on Google is advisable. I wanted to add pictures and videos to the YouTube channel. Yeah, when you're on first place, don't touch anything. When you're on third place, it depends on how long you've been on third place. A lot of times Google will test you at different positions. So if you've been consistently at third place, first of all, look at who's in 1 and 2. If it's New York Times and one and another, like Forbes in number 2, you're not getting to number 1 most likely. But if it's a comparable website, then yeah, and you've been hovering at 3 for a long time, yeah, maybe adding a video or something or refreshing the content a little bit will help. Little tweaks, little by little, and seeing the results of them. That's what SEO is. SEO is all about when you've gotten the basics handled and you're ranking, SEO then becomes about making these little tweaks and seeing what works because Google is still an algorithm. Saeed asks, thank you for an amazing tool. I've integrated it to my WordPress, however, not sure what to do next. Is there any video of the latest patch or a guide? It depends on what you want to do. 15, 20 minutes ago, someone asked the same question. It all depends on what you want to do. Click on the secret training and then figure out what you want to do. Do you just want to use AI anywhere on your computer? Use the keyboard triggers. If you want to go slow and methodically and create SEO focused blog posts, read this exhaustive guide right here. You want to do local content? Read the local buffet guide. You want to do bulk content? Read the bulk guide. You want to rewrite competitor stuff with URLs? You feed those URLs in and then rewrite the content from each of those URLs into an article. Read the Penny Arcade guide. What else we got? You are welcome, Nathan. Thank you for being here. T.I. Whale asks, can you please go over your recipe custom prompt for cooking posts? Sure. And I'll go over it real briefly. Let's see. I do a video on it. Custom prompts. No, I'm sorry, custom outline. So a custom outline, if you, crud. Geez, we lost sound. Man, no sound. Hey, sorry. Sorry about that. I might have to go in and trim the video because I think my camera shut off since 7 minutes ago. Oh, crap. Where did we cut out? Let me at least finish what I was saying. You can hear me now, right? Where did we cut out? Yeah, possibly. We're back now. Tell me where we cut out. Do you want me to keep going for a few minutes or just cut it right now? Oh, the recipe stuff. I'll finish with the recipe stuff and then we'll call it. I think I gotta put a fan behind my camera. I think my camera just died. Yeah, the recipe guide was really important. Let me just show you that really quick. In the Penny Arcade and then also in the bulk writer, you can create these custom outlines. What I was saying was the purpose of a custom outline, it's different than in the SEO writer. In the SEO writer, you want the outline exactly how you have it. But there's situations where you might have like a link. Again, we can use this in the bulk writer or the Penny Arcade. So in the Penny Arcade, we be putting in URLs. Maybe you have a URL to a chocolate chip cookie article. Maybe you have a URL to a best barbecue rib article. Maybe you have a URL to, trying to think of another one, best BLT sandwiches. You can just have the AI write articles, spin that content and write new articles for that competitor content. But oftentimes, if you're doing a recipe post or you're doing an Amazon post, you want the AI to follow a particular format. So for like Amazon reviews, you might have a particular format in here: overview, detailed features, pros and cons, concluding thoughts. Let's stick with this one first because it's a little bit easier. So we have our different products in here. So each URL from Amazon it's going to write about, it's going to use this format. Now, overview, detailed features, pros and cons, concluding thoughts. Problem is, maybe you don't want every article just to say overview because then it gets a little repetitious. So that's where this optimized title variable comes in. You can read about all these variables in this guide right here. Read the guide, it's very important. It tells you the format you have to follow for this, but there are custom variables. It explains what the custom variables are. You add them to the end of a particular H2 or H3 or H4. Here are the variables you can use. So when you have overview in here, what's going to happen is if you're writing about like a camera, for instance, so if you have a URL to an Amazon camera in here, it's going to say, I'm not going to call it overview. I'm going to say like highlights of the or overview of the Sony A6100 camera or something like that. So we'll try to work in those keywords from the title contextually into that particular H2 or H3 or H4. I'll talk about the call to action in a second. Let's go back to the recipes. So same thing, history. So if you have barbecue ribs, if you have BLT, if you have chocolate chip cookies, it would say like history of chocolate chip cookies or background of barbecue ribs, where it came from, stuff like that. You can put table in here. So table, you can force a table. Where'd that go? There's directions on its use, and you can force a list. Now realize if you're using GPT 3.5 Turbo, it doesn't follow directions as well as GPT-4 or GPT-4 Turbo. So if you are adamant that you have to have a list or you have to have a table in your custom prompt, maybe you want to upgrade to GPT-4 or GPT-4 Turbo for the particular article. This right here, auto H3s. So we could come into this expert tips and we could say, always smoke your ribs at 200. That's great for a rib article, but that's not good for an article about chocolate chip cookies. So what do we do in a situation when we want H3s for a particular topic that would be relevant to that topic? That's where this auto H3 comes in. So we can, and there's directions on its use in here. It's auto underscore H3 underscore and then the number. And the number is a digit between 1 and 10. And that's going to give you that many H3s. So when we're talking about barbecue ribs up here, it's going to say expert tips. It will say always smoke your ribs at 200 degrees. Make sure to foil wrap your ribs near the end of their cooking or something like that. But then when it talks about chocolate chip cookies, it will say make sure to add sugar. My mom forgot to add sugar one time. So that's a great way to get some H3s exactly where you want them in this outline hierarchy, but contextually relevant for your particular article. Now you can also add YouTube videos exactly where you want them to. I forgot about that. This is really important because standard, like by default, the YouTube videos are going to be added under the first H2 and then the third H2 and then the fifth H2. But maybe we don't want them under the third H2. Maybe our third H2 is concluding thoughts. We don't want a YouTube video there. So we can not enable YouTube videos and instead use them in a custom outline with the tag YouTube. So you can really get that bespoke output. The call to action is really cool. It's very applicable with an Amazon product, but what the call to action is going to do is it's going to put a link to that URL, and we're talking about the Penny Arcade right now, to the URL, because I don't think this works in the bulk. I'd have to check. You can put a link, it will put a link to the URL, and if you are using Scraping Surgeon, we go to options and then Scraping Surgeon. And again, this is a very complicated thing that if you want to start using it, you got to pay attention to. Although if you just want to use it for Amazon, it's pretty easy. Everybody has a default Amazon build in here. You can come to your Amazon one, but you can also use this for other things too. Like maybe you're an affiliate for AppSumo, but we'll talk about Amazon. You come here and add your affiliate code. And again, and I don't want to get deep in the weeds, but it's a little bit different. Something different is going to happen down here if you're using a non-Amazon site. But Amazon site, for simplicity, you just add your affiliate code down here. And then what will happen for your Penny Arcade articles, if you're using a custom outline, is you can tell it where you want the call to action with a link to the product with your affiliate code already added, inserted in your article. So we want a call to action at the concluding thoughts. We want a call to action under the detailed features. And you can come to the options menu and say, I want to use the call to action button instead of a raw link. Otherwise, it would just be a raw link there. This is what you want the call to action to be. So we want it to say view latest price. And you can even set the button color. I think this is going to be defaulting to the stereotypical orange, but you can set this to whatever you want. I think that's the important elements of you can read more about, you can put the custom prompts in there too. You can trigger product layout. You can also do in the SEO writer, call to action also works. I believe it's going to pull the URL if you use it. That's why you need it from here. So you need a URL in there. So again, this is mostly applicable if you're using an Amazon product roundup. So this is like an Amazon URL. This is an Amazon URL. I'd have to check what happens if you're like just doing a one-off article from like ClickBank or something like that. But if you are using ClickBank articles, you'd probably be in the Penny Arcade. You'd probably be using a custom outline like this, and you can set your CTAs exactly how you want it. And you'd probably go into the Scraping Surgeon and you set up ClickBank with your relevant CSS stuff in here. You can put your tag down here. So a lot of information right there. Sorry about cutting out. Really apologize about that, guys. Thanks for sticking around. We went 20 minutes over, but hopefully it was good value. Hopefully we can do this again soon. Give me a thumbs up on the video or subscribe if you're not subscribed already, or drop a comment down below. Other than that, thanks for coming out and watching the video. Thank you for joining in the chat. And if you have any more questions, just drop them in the Facebook group and we'll get them answered. Other than that, hey, good luck with your content generation, and I'll talk to you guys later.